Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what would happen if your mobile phone killed you?
We are tonight's entertainment.
I would rather watch Beautician and the Beast.
People don't forget.
And here we go.
Made for movies.
And we're back. This is the Made for Movies podcast. I am your co-host, Eric Russo, and it is finally time after many delays, years and years of delays. The Black Widow review is here for you. With me, as always, is my very wonderful Yoda t-shirt wearing co-host, Aaron Tiberius Wolf. What's going on?
I hope you know why Tiberius is so funny, and Jeff is definitely going to laugh at that statement right there, because it's James Tiberius Kirk.
Of course.
Thank you for knowing that. I'm in a better mood now. That's great. Thank you, guys.
And with us today is a very special guest. Back in April or May, I can't remember, it's been so long, we ran a contest, and Paul Dixon won the grand prize, and he is our official reviewing guest for this wonderful Black Widow movie we're about to talk about. Paul, what is going on today?
What's up, guys? Psyched to be here. I love the studio. I'm really impressed. I don't know how you guys afford this. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, you know, the advertisers, they've upgraded us a bit since we last spoke, so things are looking up for the Made for Movies crew for sure. Welcome to our humble abode.
And before Paul won the contest, he wrote that joke as if he was going to
I did.
win.
I've been waiting, literally, with bated breath to tell that joke.
Very well-written joke.
Everything Paul says today was written months in advance. Even before he saw Black Widow, he decided what he was going to say about it, which pretty much sums up Marvel movies. You don't even need to watch them anymore.
That's true. I'm really invested in this. I hired a team of writers just for this occasion.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, you're like Jimmy Fallon. Let's just dive into this, though. Before we go into Black Widow, I want the audience to get to know you, Paul, and me and Wolf will also give our answers. I will start with Wolf. Wolf, real quick, no explanation really needed. What is your number one favorite non-Avenger MCU movie, and what's your least favorite?
I would probably have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy as my favorite solo, and then least favorite, not that I don't like it, is Captain Marvel. Probably
Perfect.
Just for rewatchability's sake.
Good answers. Paul, how about you?
I'm going to cop out a bit here, and I'm going to have to go with two because it really is neck and neck for me with Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, just like Wolfie. Yeah, definitely. By far my two favorite solo, I guess you would call them, movies, even though they're not quite solo movies, but definitely my favorites.
And how about your least favorite?
It's not even close for me. It's definitely the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
It's all relative. I enjoyed all of them. So when I speak about MCU movies, I don't need anybody to like freak out. I'm not saying I didn't like any of them because honestly, I'm easy to please when it comes to these. I enjoy the formula. I love the movies. But if I had to pick one that would be my least favorite, it would be that.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, funny enough, the combination of your answers, my favorite is going to be Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So, Paul, I guess we planned that you would pick our top two favorite movies. For me, so my original answer, believe it or not, was Captain America, the First Avenger. I have yet to rewatch this movie since seeing it in theaters. All I remember was it was like a long music video montage action scene, and I was never coming back to it. But funny enough, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the only MCU movie I haven't finished, so that says enough about that one as well. But let's move into this thing. I know we were all very excited to just get back to seeing a Marvel movie on the big screen. Wolf, where were you at? Expectations going into this thing? I know we've had many discussions about this one, so you don't have to say too much probably, but let us know.
Yeah, my expectations for this were she died in Avengers Endgame. Why is this movie coming out now? That's it. Done. On to the next topic. No, it is an interesting thing when they go backwards in time. You never know what's really going to happen. It's fairly predictable. So that was kind of what I was expecting is like, oh, well, I kind of know this movie already, even though I've never seen it. So my expectations were pretty low, honestly. I wasn't expecting to be really blown away. And that's kind of where I left it.
Fair enough. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I would be on the opposite end of the spectrum with that. I had really high expectations going in simply because, Black Widow is one of my favorite characters, one of my wife's favorite characters. We've been waiting for this movie for several phases. I did have the same concerns as Wolf, given that, she's gone. What's the wait? What are they going to do with this character at this point? But I definitely had really high expectations, and the year I had to wait to see it because of the pandemic only made those expectations higher.
Good stuff. I do have to ask, so I know your wife is redhead.
Mm-hmm.
Is she required to have Black Widow be her favorite superhero?
So she actually she dressed as Black Widow one Halloween.
Of course she did. I would do it every year.
I think there's definitely some connective tissue there. I think she definitely that plays a role in it. But my wife's a badass businesswoman, professional entrepreneur. So I think it makes sense that she would like a badass female character like Natasha.
And once your daughter gets old enough, she can go as what's her character's
Yelena?
name? What's Yelena? That'll be something to look forward to for sure.
Definitely.
For me, going into this, I was probably right in between you guys. I expected the movie to be good. In fact, I thought the trailers looked pretty cool. I just didn't expect to care about what was happening. I just thought, Marvel at this point, other than Captain Marvel, what's the last bad, not even that movie was bad, like Wolf was saying, but they just seem to have like a very high floor. Like we talk about DC having a very low floor, very low ceiling. Marvel's the opposite for me. So I expected to at least like it going into it. But let's just get down to it, Wolf. Tell me how you felt about this movie.
I have many thoughts, and I will try to
Great.
keep them as concise as possible. I'll start with what I did like. I'm fascinated by this world of like what we saw in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I'm sorry, not Captain America, but what's his name? Can't even think of it. What was the show?
Iron Man?
No, what was the show that just came out?
Falcon
and Winter
and the
Soldier.
Winter.
God,
Yeah.
let me retake that.
It's technically Captain America and the Winter Soldier. You're fine.
It is now, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm spoiling that for some people.
Good.
This world of what we don't know about in all these different cities where there's so much crime and so many like assassins and all that stuff. I'm pretty fascinated by that, so I'm excited for the future after this movie as to what that might bring from some of the characters that make it through. And I thought the development of those characters was really, really well done, and they were some of my favorites. I'm very excited about some of the stuff, especially in the post-credit scenes as well. So generally I did like the movie, and I thought the intro was probably one of the better intros of any MCU movie that's ever happened. Some things I couldn't get around were what I said before. I knew that Black Widow lives. Because of the time that this takes place, she does die eventually, but she is alive for that. So I couldn't get around that. I knew she would be okay. I didn't know too much about the rest of the characters, obviously, but in the end, that held me up quite a bit. And I thought actually the CGI in this was some of the worst of any Marvel movie, despite a huge budget, just like most of them.
Interesting.
And especially in some of the bigger scenes, like at the prison and things like that, the street racing and things like that. And then the main thing I also tried to get over pretty hard is I was either confused or misheard when this was taking place. I thought it was in between Infinity War and Endgame. Definitely not. It's right after Captain America's Civil War, for people who don't know. So don't be disappointed by that.
They should probably tell you that, but they don't.
Yeah, but I was mostly upset because I wanted to see the world that was at half its population. Like I was really interested in seeing that, and I set myself up for a little bit of failure there. That was one expectation I did have. So overall, it's a good movie, and I did like it, but it didn't get the score that I thought it would based on what I'd heard from some other people who had seen it before me. So that's kind of where I leave it for general thoughts.
Great stuff. I definitely have some questions once we get into spoilers for you about the CGI specifically. I'm always curious to see what part in general, but Paul, take it away. Black Widow, what do you think?
Yeah, overall, I think you and I have talked about this several times. Expectations obviously play a big role in anything in life, right? Perhaps my expectations were a little too high going into this movie. Largely, I was disappointed by it. I thought the strength of it was the individual performances. I loved Natasha. I loved Yelena's performance. Obviously Florence Pugh and I thought David Harbour was fantastic as Red Guardian, as he is obviously from Stranger Things. Great character actor, great performance. Overall, I thought that was really what carried the movie. I was just a little disappointed by the narrative, by the story. Given what Wolf said, you're in a situation where we know the ultimate outcome of the character, the ultimate fate of the character, right? So there's really no weight there in what her future is going to be. So you really needed to put together like a really creative narrative to really draw people in and make the movie really interesting from that perspective. I was looking for like a Bourne Identity kind of spy thriller sort of caper kind of situation, and I thought they really missed the mark on that. I thought the storyline, the narrative was jumbled. It reminded me of, God forgive me, but it reminded me of Batman vs Superman in a lot of ways, where I felt like they tried to cram a lot of storylines into one movie that just didn't ultimately end up paying off. But yeah, overall, I love the individual performances. I would have loved to have seen more of Florence Pugh. I would have loved to have seen more of just the two of them. Those are my thoughts, I guess, in general. I think that kind of leads you to understand how I felt about the movie as a whole. But again, overall, I was largely disappointed based on my expectations going in.
Good stuff. Yeah, I know one of the reasons that we had you on for this movie is just because you're such a huge Marvel fan, and my hope going into it was that this was going to be a unanimous crowd pleaser, and unfortunately it doesn't sound like that's what we got. As far as my general thoughts go, it seems like I liked it more than you two, but my expectations going in were pretty low. So I think with a movie like this, I did know where it was taking place, so that probably helped out a lot. Wolf, if I thought what you thought, I probably would have been super, super disappointed. But I did think it was very weird that they did not explain it very well as far as where it was taking place. I personally would have loved to seen a scene from Captain America Civil War to kind of set the table for when this movie is happening. But having said that, I did really enjoy the movie, particularly the beginning, like we're going to talk about here shortly. And then I thought the last 30 or 40 minutes were very strong. And as you've both said, I think this movie is anchored by tremendous performances. And I just want to give Scarlett Johansson a huge shout out. So she was a producer on this movie, and Kevin Feige has come out and said that she had a huge part in putting this movie together. And I think the weaknesses in this movie fall in making it a little too formula-based. And the strengths are the things that Scarlett Johansson added. So this was never intended to be a team-up, family sort of movie. That was all her idea. She wanted to really bring in new characters and have new characters shine. And I think without that, this movie would have been a complete disaster. Not that Scarlett Johansson is bad in it, but at this point, she's the least interesting character because she is dead. So I think she knew that, and she's probably super pissed off that they waited 6 years to give her solo movie. And she takes one for the team in a way by really putting the shine on Florence Pugh, and she is the standout in the movie for me. There is no question. Her delivery, her lines are very well written as far as the dialogue goes, but I just thought her delivery was fantastic. She has like this perfect deadpan, dry humor, and David Harbour to me was the other standout. Once he enters the movie, I think the movie is completely elevated to a perfectly acceptable Marvel movie. Before he gets there, I did have some issues, which we'll get into in spoilers. But overall, I enjoyed myself. I didn't really expect much going in, so that, like I said, that probably helped out a lot. Let's get into final thoughts. Paul, where do you rank this movie? You don't have to tell me where. Is it towards the bottom of your Marvel movies, would you say?
Yeah, this is a bottom 3 or 4 Marvel movie for me, which it's all relative when it comes to Marvel movies. I enjoy them all. Even Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I put as my lowest ranked. I enjoyed them all, but so It's all relative. But this would definitely be a bottom 3 or 4 for me.
And then so I'm clear, you actually saw this in theaters, and then were kind of so disappointed that you actually did watch it again too. So this wasn't just like a.
That's a great move right there. I love it.
I had to do a follow-up watch just to kind of give it a
that.
fair chance, and hey, listen, I wanted to be prepared for this, right? I wanted to bring my A game, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And
but I think that just shows your love for these movies. The fact that you're like, wait, that had to be better than I thought. Let me see it again.
Yeah.
But Wolf, where do you stand overall with this film?
Yeah, I agree with points that you guys both made, and I 100% am on board. Florence Pugh and David Harbour stole the show of this whole movie. They were the best parts. I couldn't wait for them to be back on, and hopefully looking forward to seeing much more of them in the future. And overall, yeah, like Paul said, this is relative. Most of these movies are entertaining. It's good action. Either way, you're gonna have a fun movie experience. It's not something you're gonna want to walk out on. So my score is also, again, relative to most other Marvel movies in this case, but pretty good.
Absolutely.
It's still good, worth a watch. I'd go check it out.
Yeah, I think that's really where our score comes into play here. So moving forward, just to keep it as simple as possible, me and Wolf are going to be giving one singular made-for-movie score. I was a little bit higher on this one than him, and this movie came out as a 6.75 out of 10 for us. Keep in mind, when we do these rankings, a 7 out of 10 to us is a good movie that's really rewatchable, a movie that we're going to watch over and over. I personally probably will not watch this again, but I will definitely watch parts of it again whenever it's free. And you know, I'm sure Wolf may do the same at some point. But I think we could say it's a good movie. If you're a huge MCU fan, definitely check it out. If you're more of an Avengers fan, only see the big movies, this one's probably skippable for you. But of course, if you're a Scarlett Johansson or David Harbour or Florence Pugh fan, definitely 100% check this out. But let's move into spoilers. Guys, if you have not seen this movie, there is some twists and turns. We don't want to spoil it for you. Spoiler alert, she dies in the end. Just kidding. But no. We're going to move into spoilers, so come back later once you've seen Black Widow. But let's just jump into this. So what we're going to do, I've narrowed it down to 6 pivotal scenes in this movie. Let's break it down. Actually, the first one's not so much a scene as it is a character. Let's talk about it. I know we all have some thoughts on this. Wolf, tell me how you feel about the new villain, Taskmaster.
I am very impressed with the technology that they use as Taskmaster. I guess at this point we're in spoilers. It's a she, and it's actually one of the main villains. It's the main villain's daughter, Dreykov's daughter, who it's actually a callback to the first Avengers movie where Loki is getting... He thinks he's interviewing Black Widow, but Black Widow's really interviewing him. And he calls out Dreykov's daughter as one of the kills that she's made of her dripping red ledger. So I thought that was pretty cool to kind of tie that back.
Sure.
So Dreykov's daughter being Taskmaster, the idea of imitation and things like that you can pick up on somebody else's fighting style and then replicate it instantly. Talk about a cool ability. So I did like the villain overall. Didn't necessarily like that it was Dreykov's daughter, but at that point that would be very nitpicky. But she's a pretty good fighter, and I really like the scenes that they were in. Some of the CGI stuff was involving, like if Taskmaster's jumping 20 feet in the air, you can clearly see it looks like Neo from Matrix Reloaded. It's just not that good, but otherwise a pretty cool character, and I like the ending where it does get resolved.
Paul, I know you're a big comic book fan. How did Taskmaster live up to your expectations for this character?
How long is this podcast? Look, great start. Cool costume. I like the idea behind it with the tech-based, mimicking of the moves. All of that stuff was really cool conceptually. Really fantastic fight moments, like especially in the beginning. But ultimately, I just don't think they did the character any justice. Like a lot of this movie, I just don't feel like there was enough time spent on the best parts. The reveal felt to me like a kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan moment. Like let's have a big twist for the sake of a big twist without any real like gravitas or anything like that, right? Just a big letdown for me there. Like going back to what Wolf said, the Dreykov's daughter callback is great. The plot line was a great idea, but it was obviously supposed to be some like weighty plot line that for me was just like a total miss and a missed opportunity. Just overall, I just didn't get it. There was a lot of moments in this movie that would have. Eric and I talk about this a lot. How like a writer can, in a movie, you can get away with a lot if the writer makes you care about the characters. Like, who did we care about in this movie except for Natasha? Even Florence Pugh, who was great, and David Harbour, who were great. Like, why, what reason did they give us to care about their characters or anybody in this movie? So that was the biggest problem I had. I just, I just didn't get it. Like, the whole difficult decision she had to blow up Dracoff because his daughter, they spent like 30 seconds on it. Like, were we supposed to feel that? I don't, it was just total missed opportunity. I know plot, like flashbacks are like, in a lot of cases, an overused plot device, but this is the kind of movie that I felt would have benefited from a lot more flashback scenes and would have been really cool. Just
I mean, you could have had the entire movie set as an origin story before she became an Avenger. That's actually what I originally thought the movie was going to be.
That's what it should have been in Phase 2, right? But
we still know she would have lived, though.
Yeah.
Do this after Iron Man 2, and everybody's happy, I think.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, so Taskmaster.
Let's hear it.
I like this movie, but I had some major issues with Taskmaster. I get that they want to sell Halloween costumes, but good Lord, what am I looking at? A Power Ranger cross with a G.I. Joe.
I thought I was at the movie Snake Eyes, honestly.
Oh my! I seriously thought it was out of the movie Snake Eyes. It looks cool in fight scenes, but it just is so. It makes no sense why does the costume look like that? One of my bigger issues was the mimicking. I think the mimicking on paper is a fantastic idea, but I had no idea it was really happening. Like, yes, she threw the shield like Captain America. I did not know. I was listening to another podcast, the We Enjoy podcast, Matt Fowler, and the director and the fight choreographer. So when Taskmaster is fighting Red Guardian at the end of the movie, the fight choreography for that is the exact fight choreography from Winter Soldier. That's freaking awesome that they did that. I had no idea that was happening, and I love that movie. So they could have had her download that and like shown us her downloading that so that we could kind of make that connection. I personally did not catch any sort of mimicking other than the Captain America stuff. So thought that was a huge missed opportunity. And Paul, that's amazing. The M. Night Shyamalan twist.
You're right on. We got one superhero landing out of Taskmaster to mimic a joke that they actually said was a superhero landing, thanks to Florence Pugh. Awesome dialogue there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They made fun of it. It was great. I thought that was like a Deadpool kind of call out because he does that to Gina Carano. It's one of the funniest lines ever. So.
I'm ready to move on from Taskmaster, but this was, to me, just making a villain the Terminator, and the director has said that that's what it was supposed to be, a Terminator-type character, was the biggest mistake. Movies need to stop doing that Terminator-type character. It never works except for... it doesn't even work in the Terminator anymore. It's time to just stop. But let's move on to something that I think we all kind of agree was one of the stronger parts of the movie. Let's all discuss the opening as well as the opening credit scenes. Wolf, where do you stand with how the opening was portrayed?
Yeah, I said it before. I think the opening is probably the strongest scene in the entire movie. It reminded me a lot of a show I really like on FX called The Americans, where it's obviously about Russian spies living in America, speaking standard English with no accent. So they really do assimilate into the culture here. And then it's just a good action scene where, it looked like to me they were using a real plane and actually like not necessarily using too much CGI on this because it was the 90s, I believe, actually, it called it back to. But to find out this is kind of where they are set up, and then the reveal that they're not actually a family, none of them are related, they're all just kind of spies, and they just happen to be kids who will then become Black Widows. So it's kind of setting up, that's how they get them. Okay, cool. Enough information for me. And again, I thought the action was really, really good. We're introduced to S.H.I.E.L.D., which at that time was definitely Hydra. So another thing I wish they kind of dove into a little bit more was that connection, but they didn't have too much time, being that, like Paul said, this was one of 2 flashbacks in the entire movie where they could have had 20. And I'm sorry, I just went dark.
You're cool. Paul, how about you?
So let me preface this by saying I know nobody listening to this probably knows this, but Eric, you know this well. I think I'm largely an optimist, especially when it comes to movies.
I would say that's fair.
I love just about everything. Even sometimes ridiculously, I love just about everything that I make the point to go see. I get the intention behind this opening scene. I really do, but it's the execution for me that leaves like a lot to be desired. I never really thought I would say this, but I think like I finally came across something that was like more annoying about family than Vin Diesel. Like they kept driving this family thing home with us like this whole movie, and they gave us 10 minutes in the beginning to like buy into it, and I just didn't get it. Again, it was too rushed, too quick to even care about. I don't get it. Like there's this whole thing with them being a family in the end, and I think I understand the intention behind it, that they're also damaged, that this is the only type of family they have to hold on to. I understand that.
Yeah.
I just don't think they did a good job in executing that. Like, what about these couple minutes we saw lead you to believe that this is some kind of family that would care about each other in the least? And I think it's more so, again, not that it was a bad move, it was just rushed. Like there was no really time to spend with it and care about it and care about the family unit. There were a lot of cool things. That the airplane hangar scene was really cool. Again, I thought David Harbour like knocked it out of the park in a lot of these scenes. He reminded me a lot of Hopper dealing with 11 in some of these scenes, like talking to the girls. Yeah. But it's pretty obvious over the couple seasons we've spent with Hopper that he cares about 11, right? Like, what gave you the impression that he cares about these two little girls at all in those scenes? I don't know. I just, I get the intention. It's the execution that I had an issue with. You know, maybe they should have had a series leading up to this where we could have spent some time with some of these other characters to have some time to care about them. I don't know, but it was just kind of lost on me.
I was going to even ask you guys, do you think that if you could have swung this, would you have rather seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a movie and this as the TV show?
Yes, 100%.
I would say no, because I know Natasha doesn't die until Endgame. I'm just gonna keep going back to it. I don't.
Yeah,
that's why.
But here's my point. If it was a TV show and it was kind of known going in, the same way the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was known that he was going to become Captain America, that this show was really designed to make Florence Pugh the new star of the Avengers team as the new Black Widow, I think it would have worked a little better as a passing of the torch, and it would have given some of this more time to breathe with this story. But as far as the opening for me goes, I thought it was the strongest part of the movie. It had me so intrigued about where this story was going to go, and I think specifically, I like the realistic nature to it. The fact that Rachel Weisz actually gets shot and her daughter was flying the plane, I thought that was a very cool thing. No one ever gets shot in movies, so the fact that a bullet actually hits someone, I'm always like, yeah, let's go. But as far as the opening credit, the Smells Like Teen Spirit cover, I thought that was by far, hands down, the best part of the movie, and it had me thinking that this movie was going to be like a masterpiece. I was like, is this going to be one of the best Marvel movies? Because Marvel actually has not had opening credits on any of their movies except for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think dating back to The Incredible Hulk was the last one before that. So the fact that it even had a title credit, and as cool as it was, just really showing this like underground world where they're like murdering kids, I just thought it was super dark, and I was like, wow, this movie's gonna take, be more like a Bourne Identity sort of tone to it. Now it really set me up for failure for the second act of the movie, because I thought the weakest part we'll get into here, I'll actually have you guys discuss it a little bit, is just when the sisters actually do meet and all the action beats in the city. But Wolf, how did you feel about these action scenes and the way they met and they kind of introduced Florence?
Like I said, Florence was one of the better parts of the entire movie, so it was good to see her kind of get off the ground and start running. But this is where some of the CGI started to come into play for me in some of these scenes. Just cars crashing into each other that don't look realistic. They could have done that. Christopher Nolan does it every day. They'll just throw a bunch of cars and money at it and call it a day. But again, that's fairly nitpicky. I do understand that, but decent action, and the dialogue between them, I think there could have been a lot more of, just like Paul said. So yeah, just not enough time to develop that, but it could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely terrible the way they met. How about you, Paul?
This was actually one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Back and
hate
forth
to be that guy,
here.
but
tell me why.
Far too little time spent on this duo alone. I loved their chemistry, the two of them. I thought they were great together. The first fight scene between them left a lot to be desired for me. I know you
That's
didn't
what
like
I'm referring to
because
when I
of
say I hated it.
Why didn't you like it? Because of the what?
Well, the
of quick
banter,
cuts.
the quick cuts, yeah, you couldn't see what was going on. It was too zoomed in.
Yeah.
But specifically the banter between them, I just don't like humor, comedy, fighting. I think it rarely does it work unless it's like Deadpool. It has to be perfectly done. But which part of this did you like then? If you didn't really like the fight scene,
So just that fight scene alone, I had problems with. Quick cuts don't typically bother me quite as much as they bother you. I understand their purpose in a lot of cases, but in this case you have two of the best fighters in the entire MCU. Why aren't we getting like wide shots? Why aren't we getting more of those very clear fight scenes like we got in Winter Soldier, where you see their moves clearly? Instead, it seemed like the choreography was lazy and they were just making up for it by creating chaos with the quick cuts, right?
well, that's what quick cuts are for. You say
Right.
you know why they're used. They're used to make you think a shitty movie is
Right,
good.
right, and that's the problem I had with it. Right, exactly. You didn't need.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like you needed it. Right, they're great fighters.
definitely
They
not.
should be able to carry that scene on their own. Just felt like cheap tricks, to me, as you said. But overall, I enjoyed the chase scene. I thought that was one of the strongest Taskmaster scenes for me. I liked the idea of it. I thought Florence Pugh was great the whole time. I really liked the scene between the two of them after the scene was over. The fight scene where they were sitting down, kind of chatting, talking. I love the little dig that Florence Pugh's characters makes about Thor doesn't have to take ibuprofen after a fight.
That was probably the top three things in the movie with the opening credits, as well as her just making fun of the pose.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done. I know, Wolf, you talked about that earlier. But, Wolf, break it down for me. So we get the introduction to David Harbour's character, Alexei, in prison. I know you were saying earlier that some of the CGI bothered you, specifically with the prison scene. I'm guessing you're talking about the snow, if I had to guess. But how did you feel about this prison break? A little too silly for you, or do you think this is one of the better action beats in the movie?
No, it's definitely good action, and it's definitely necessary. I thought it was hilarious that he's just beating these guys left and right. Being an older man, he's kind of got a belly, so he's not exactly in like Red Guardian fighting shape. I love the call out of I knew Captain America, and then the guy just like, he's frozen. You don't know him, or he was frozen. I thought that was pretty cool that like he's trying to build up this legend of himself, even though he hasn't done much, it seems. But it was a lot of like the snow and the helicopter and just mostly the avalanche that really did seal it for me. But just some of the wider action shots, you could tell it's just like looking at a computer game. And to me, that just doesn't seem like the quality I'm expecting in an MCU movie from Iron Man 1. I would say like the CGI in that is revolutionary as far as that goes. But
Tony Stark built this in a cave with a bunch of scraps.
that's gonna be the new Dark Knight Rises voice is Crazy
What's his
Horse.
name? Jebediah?
Jeff Bridges.
Who does he play in that
Oscar-winning
movie?
performance plays
Obadiah?
Obadiah something.
Obadiah
or other
Stane,
in-
yeah.
Oh yes, in Iron Man 1, fantastic
God
performance.
help us.
Just yells a bunch, pretty good. So yeah, I did like the scene. I was entertained by it. I'm not saying it really detracted or made my score any different, but those are just kind of some of the things I picked out from it. But again, David Harbour, hilarious. I did catch a lot of Stranger Things vibes from him because I think he's almost typecast in that particular role at this point as Hopper.
Yeah.
It's just he put a Russian accent on it this time, and it was pretty funny. And it's funny that Stranger Things deals with Russia too. So we're kind of getting across multiverse of madness, as they say, for these two universes. But that's really all my thoughts on that scene.
Yeah, it actually ties into Stranger Things. So David Harbour had to shave his head for Stranger Things because of the way he cut his hair for this movie. So I thought that is very interesting. And Paul, please tell me you like something in this movie. Did you like this scene?
So again, I loved David Harbour. Like he was a highlight of the movie. I did feel like this action scene was kind of unnecessary and took focus away from the people I would have wanted to spend more time on, which is Yelena and Natasha. It could have been quicker. Give me the David Harbour banter, then get him out, and then get right to planning the invasion of the Red Room. That's what I would have liked to have seen. For me, like I said, the biggest complaints is like just I went to the movie to I wanted to see more about Black Widow's story, more about the weight of Black Widow and her passing the torch, as you said, to Yelena. I just didn't feel like I got enough of that. It was a cool scene, just too long, and I don't really think coming off of a big action set piece that you needed another one right up against it. Just my opinion.
That's a very good point.
That's fair. Yeah, that's definitely fair. I'll agree. I actually enjoyed this scene a lot. I did think it went on about 3 or 4 minutes too long, and I thought the snow part of it could have been completely cut out. Just an unnecessary use of CGI.
Did all those guys die? Like, we never got enough.
Everyone's
Are they
dead.
all buried under snow for the rest of their lives? Because it's
Yeah,
obviously
so that's
not
actually,
melting. Like, what's going on?
It's a prequel to the movie Tomorrow War. So the snow is going to thaw out in 30 years, and that will be where the alien spaceship is. But no, for me, so Wolf, one thing you said about Red Guardian talking about fighting Captain America. So I did not take that as he was lying. He definitely, I think, thinks he's telling the truth. Is it the Captain America that we know? Or is it Chris Evans traveling back in time to return the stones and crossing paths with him? I have a strange feeling we're going to get an answer to this question one way or another. It's probably going to be a funny answer, like someone dressed as Captain America that's not Captain America.
No, that's actually a really good point. It could be because, we don't know necessarily anything at this point. Yeah.
So he has said he wants to do a crossover with Captain America. I'm assuming they mean Sam at this point because I don't see Chris Evans coming back. We can talk a little bit about that at the end of this episode as far as where we think this is going to go. But let's wrap this up, talk about the finale. Wolf, I know this is one of your least favorite parts of the movie. Is that correct? In Scott in the space?
Not necessarily. I think like little different things kind of jumped in here and there where I was just like, I rolled my eyes a little bit. And then again, I keep going back to it. Natasha's face-to-face with one of my new favorite actors of all time, the guy who played Mr. French in The Departed. I think his name is
Ray Winstone.
Ray Winstone.
Ray Winstone, that's right. Mm-hmm. And I just knew where this was going with them. And I was more interested in Florence Pugh at this point and what she was trying to do with all of this going on, all the chaos, while Natasha's literally just having a conversation. So I was like, get me out of this. We know Dreykov and her don't like each other. Show me the other characters and what they're doing a little bit more. But ultimately, it does uncover another world, and that's one of the things I take out from this mostly is that there's a global network of widows, and the screen looked red like when Charles Xavier goes into look at all the humans or whatever in Cerebro. Like a huge planet full of these widows, and they're all pretty badass, so there could be an army of them that is banding together to I wonder what the next movie's going to be. Wink wink, right? So that I'm interested in, and I hope to see that kind of moving forward with Yelena's character as she takes the mantle. But yeah, I think give me more Ray Winstone. I think that's what I took most out of this is he's a hell of a villain, and I could see him doing a lot more things in many other movies that I haven't seen.
For sure. Paul, I know you've already kind of discussed the ending as far as Taskmaster, so any other thoughts on this finale, Up in the Sky?
Yeah, I agree with Wolf. I thought Ray Winstone was a ridiculously great choice as a villain, and then again, I think they missed the mark by, like, who cares about him? We spent 30 seconds on him, and I feel like there's these scenes that are supposed to be weighty between him and Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, and I just didn't feel it. It was just a bunch of him yelling things and was taking away from things I'd rather see. Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that this would have worked a lot better had Ray Winstone been introed in let's say he showed up in Age of Ultron as a cameo side character, maybe like during the flashback sequence with her, and now they're reusing someone. It maybe would have played a little bit better. It kind of goes back to that, this was the evil villain all along. It was all happening off screen. I'm never going to be a fan of that. But overall, I did think Ray Winstone was good as Harvey Weinstein in this movie. I thought he did a great job. But no, there was definitely some strong points to the finale. I thought, again, the banter between Florence, David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, Scarlett Jo was perfect. I think it really kept me engaged in what was happening, and I really did enjoy the callback to her interrogating Loki as she tricks Ray Winstone into giving her the information that she needs. I thought that was really well done. I'm with you, Paul. You had the Taskmaster twist, and then the Rachel Weisz, them switching twist was the dumbest thing in the movie to me. I will say, as dumb as I am, for a second, I was like, wait, there's 2 Black Widows? Is this how they're going to say that she's still alive? I was like, what the is going on? So happy to see they did not do that. That would have been the end of times and the end of days. But, Wolf, I know you were a huge fan. Let's wrap this up. Post-credit tease hits. Finally, she's dead. I'll say that. How did you feel about where this could potentially go? And do you see this being for a movie, a TV show? What do you think?
Yeah, this is probably the part I'm most excited about overall. Give me all the Julia Louis-Dreyfus that I can take. Her name in the movie is Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Amazing, just like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. A lot of names there. But her character being introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier was one of the brighter parts of that show for me overall. And just what she says, hey, Florence Pugh, go kill Clint Barton, who happens to be Natasha's best friend throughout the entire time that we've known her, is pretty ridiculous and pretty exciting to think about. And the fact that Julia Louis-Dreyfus interviewed U.S. Agent, who was one of the very best spots of Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a series overall. Hopefully we get that as a collaboration. I would love to see this as either a TV show or a movie. I could go for both. And then hopefully this does tie into the network of widows that we don't know about at this point, and then we get just some massive crazy fight. That would be pretty cool.
Paul, where do you stand? You want to see this go into a TV show? Or
So what I'm hoping, because I'll be disappointed if the only post-credit scene we get is a highlight to the Hawkeye TV series. Like, after a year of waiting for this movie, I was expecting something bigger with bigger implications for Phase 4. I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Madam Hydra. Like, perfect genius casting, right? Like, I can't wait to see her more involved and more into it. What I'm hoping that this is alluding to is exactly what Wolf said, and I literally had it written down so I wouldn't forget to say it, is her connection with U.S. Agent, and now her connection with Yelena Belova. Like, I'm hoping they're leading towards like the
Dark Avengers.
The Dark Avengers, or
nice.
That little team that they put together. Maybe a shout to like the Thunderbolts, which is another cool team. And
cool. And obviously we already have Zemo, so that's very possible.
Yeah, like those are the things I'm really clinging on to make this post-credit scene a little better. But if it's just pointing to us to the Hawkeye series, I'm a little disappointed by that. So I'm really, really hoping what I'm reading into it is that it's a little bit larger than that, and it's going to point to a Thunderbolt series, or a kind of thread throughout all the movies where this team comes together, with some of the little more morally questionable heroes kind of team up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I agree with you to some extent. I do think that, although I'm not necessarily a fan of it, I think one thing we may see happen moving forward is that the movies, because at the end of the day, post-credit scenes can never be important to the actual narrative, right? Like, they can be teasers for what's to come, but you can't put something so important after the credits that if someone were to miss it, they would be super confused watching the actual movies. It's really for an Easter egg for the fans that just want a little taste of what's to come. But I think what we're going to get is the majority of the movies will tease the TV series, and the majority of the TV series will tease the movies, and that will kind of be how they cross over with this very limited connective tissue, except, of course, for the big ones. When they're ready to tease the Avengers, I'm sure we'll get that tease in Captain America movie, or potentially, I would say the biggest movies coming up are probably going to be Spider-Man, Thor, and Doctor Strange. They seem to have the most implications as where the overall story's going. But we shall see. Last thought I had on this, too, and you guys can let me know what you think. I feel like we finally know how they may get Chris Evans and Downey back into this universe in 10 years. It feels like we may get evil versions of those characters, maybe with Kang going to different universes to assemble his own group of Avengers. I thought that would be an interesting idea because I know there are rumors out there that Chris Evans is coming back. We just don't know how. I'm totally fine if he comes back as a villain, like a true evil version of Captain America. What do you guys think about that?
It's a very good theory, and who wouldn't want to see evil Iron Man?
Yeah,
I think that would be fantastic, and I hope
you could even bring back Natasha, like pre-Avengers Natasha.
Yeah, I think like the idea that nobody dies, this would be one positive way to spin nobody dies. So I'd probably be okay with it,
as long as it doesn't end with them at a barbecue eating food. Paul, any last thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot. I'd really love for the TV shows to carry a little more weight and be kind of can't miss and not skippable things. So I'm really hoping that it's alluding to that. And I already pointed out the one thing that I'm very hopeful. One of the things I was disappointed about the movie is I wanted some kind of, even just a little hint that maybe we're going to see Red Hulk, like Thunderbolt Ross, Red Hulk, who is a member of the Thunderbolts, obviously. So I'm hoping they're pointing to that. That would give us a little mix of like the quote-unquote bad characters who have to do some good, kind of a Suicide Squad-esque kind of bad guys doing good thing.
I think you will get that. I really do. I think you'll get your wish with that. There's no other reason to keep him around, so it just makes sense that they're going to elevate that story for sure. So I think you'll get your wish. Wolf, any last words for Miss Black Widow?
No, I'd say if you're a fan of action movies, it's well worth the watch, and you should be entertained. Just don't get caught up on some of the stuff we got caught up on. That's about it.
And if you have not seen the movie yet, you don't have to see it. We told you all about it, so enjoy our conversation as always. But Paul, no, it was so fun having you on. We look forward to having you on again in the future. We're going to have another contest coming up. I'm sure you'll rig that one as well and get the grand prize.
Can't wait to hear the joke from that one as well.
The check's already in the mail, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, get writing. But that wraps it up here. Please send us your thoughts on Black Widow, and we will discuss them on next week's episode. Until then, bye.
See y'all.
See you guys.